everyone. Welcome. We're so excited to have you here. We are going to kick off in 1 minute. I need to do some admin stuff, which I'm doing. And in the meantime, I just want to reiterate that this event is being recorded. So just as an FYI. Feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A. I will do my best to moderate as we go. And I will let the panelists introduce themselves, but I will say I am right there in this with you. I need this conversation more than ever. I'm leaving on a 6 a.m. flight tomorrow morning with my 3.5-year-old, and I am pregnant. So I'm here for it. And without further ado, let me just quickly say, I'm so glad you found Auggie, and hopefully you're turning to the community for travel tips and recs because that's what we're really good at and finding community. And we have a very big app launch coming, hopefully this week, and we're excited to see you in the new product. And without further ado, Sarah, why don't you introduce yourself, and then Bree, I'll come over to you next.
Hi, I'm Sarah Huff. I am the community manager over at BabyQuip. We are the number one baby gear rental company. So right up this alley, if you ever travel and you need to rent baby gear, BabyQuip's your guy. And I'm also Sarah knows her stuff in on most platforms. So I'm kind of just a travel expert, baby gear expert, and thought leader in this kind of industry. So really excited to be here and share some of my travel tips and baby gear tips with everybody.
Thank you, Sarah. Hi, Bree.
Hi. So, like Sarah, I am in the travel space and family travel space. I make like travel toys, travel activity kits for kids. They're obviously not just for travel, but it kind of started in that. And we also travel. I have four little kids, and so we're just always busy and on social media, I share about our activity kits and all the different launches and new toys and stuff like that, but I also share tons of travel tips and itineraries and kind of hacks and also the real life moments of traveling with four kids.
I need to learn everything from you. And just quickly before we get into the meat of this event, how did you both get into this?
Well, I mean, for me, it started, I used to live out in Connecticut.
Well,
I'm based in San Diego right now. My whole family is in San Diego. And so I used to fly from New York to Connecticut or New York to San Diego all the time with my daughter. And it was just me and her. And so it was very stressful. And, I was a new mom, had no idea what to do. And so it literally started with me like doing tons of research, going to a billion different stores, trying to find toys that were travel friendly and would keep a 18-month-old entertained for 6 hours by myself. Started with a massive duffel bag of toys, like literally bigger than my
there.
own suitcase. And we had a super nice guy help us. I had my daughter in my hands and I had the bags and all this stuff, and he offered to carry our duffel bag of toys. He didn't know what was in it. It weighed so much. I felt so bad for him. I was so embarrassed. But he was like, "What is in this?" I'm like, "Oh, it's just all the
Toys.
stuff for her."
Yeah.
But anyways, after that, there really wasn't anything out there at the time that was travel friendly and easy to find and just kind of um good travel recommendations for toys to keep kids entertained. And so, I mean, we've grown our family obviously since then, but we kept traveling with them. And after a lot of flights, just kind of narrowed it down to our tried and true favorites. And so now we bundle those toys into activity kits and just make it easier, take the guesswork out of things for parents, which is exactly like, what BabyQuip does too. It's just takes takes the guesswork out of stuff. Like, we have the stuff, to keep you entertained. Sarah has all the stuff that you need on your trip. And it's just, anything that can help other families take the guesswork out of travel is truly like our goal.
That's such a good story. I was recently going to Bachelorette, so going childless, and there was this mom struggling, holding the bags and the baby. And I was just like, how are you even doing this? Like, how are you going to go to the bathroom? And she was like, would you mind? And I was like, not at all. And I held this baby and I was thrilled. So Sarah, what about you? How did you become this gear expert?
Very similar to Bree. I was a brand new mom with all the stuff, and was traveling to go see family and was like, what do I do when I get there? I need this specific thing that he like uses to sleep. I need a rocking chair. I need this and I need that. And like the list goes on, especially as a new mom, because you're like, I'm not gonna be at my mom's house without all of the stuff. And she was like, hold on, don't freak out, I think I can rent this stuff for you when you come. And I was like, okay, are you sure it's gonna be the exact same stuff? And she was like, okay, chill out, first of all.
Yeah.
I wish every mom could just have that like
Yeah.
chill out moment, because really just relax. But she was like, don't worry, I got you. So I got there, we had all the rented stuff, and kind of the rest was history. I was like, this is an amazing idea. I want to do this. I was a stay-at-home mom, brand new mom, and I needed something to keep my brain fresh. And so I was like, I'll rent out baby gear to traveling families too. And
Wow, so you became one of the gear renter-outers. That's
renter
awesome.
outers. Yes, we are quality providers, and I still am a gear renter outer
Cool.
here in Southern California. So I kind of keep my brain fresh with all the gear that's out there. And just through helping literally thousands of families travel um, near and far with their kids, I've learned so many different hacks, so many different brands and gear and all that kind of stuff that really, really helps. And that's just kind of how my story blossomed.
That's awesome. And I feel like a perfect segue to get us into what is the essential travel gear. And I guess Sarah, we'll start with you, but there must be things that are non-negotiable you have to bring with you, right? And then there must be things that you're always comfortable renting. Does that vary? What are you packing versus renting?
Yeah, I think that that's going to depend on probably your stress level as just like a parent.
Yeah.
But you can literally rent anything at your
Okay.
destination. You could pack your clothes and your baby's clothes, and that's it. You could get there and have diapers, wipes, swim diapers, toys, crib, high chair, car seat, stroller waiting at your destination, if that's what you want to do. Now, some people don't want to do that. So,
Yeah, talk to us about like what the majority of people are. Like for me,
I
I feel like I would have anxiety not having a car, like the car seat would stress me out.
totally,
Yeah.
I always say pack for routine, not the what ifs, right? So go through your day and say, what do I use on a regular basis with my baby, with my kid? And then make sure that you either have something at your destination ready for them for that, or you're bringing something. So you need something to carry them in, so a stroller or a car seat. You're going to need a sleep solution, and you're going to need probably some sort of baby jail, right? Like and that baby jail could probably work for a number of different things. You can
Yeah.
eat in the baby jail, you play in the baby jail, and all that kind of stuff. But again, parents are different. So um, I always bring a little portable white noise machine. You can
Yes.
clip it onto your stroller. You can use it in the hotel. You can use it in your Airbnb. And then that just makes kind of the atmosphere, your atmosphere from home, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're using a white noise machine, it's going to sound the same wherever you go. And when I have parents coming and renting from me, I always recommend bring something that smells like home for the crib. So if that's a crib sheet, if you want to just throw in a crib sheet from your home, baby's going to feel so much more comfortable in that rented crib if you bring, a little crib sheet or a lovey that smells like home, or even a mom t-shirt or something like that. But honestly, the rest is really not that necessary. If you're
Yeah.
going to book them a seat on an airplane, bring your car seat, obviously, buckle them in, and then you're good to go. But everything else you can get at your destination. And remember, well, most people are not flying to like the middle of
Nowhere.
Antarctica,
Yeah.
right? You can get almost anything anywhere.
Yeah.
So,
And are you finding that the majority of people, or maybe it varies with BabyQuip, are staying at hotels versus Airbnbs versus in-laws or grandparents? Or it doesn't matter, you just show up?
no, I think, when people travel with kids, they want a home-like experience wherever they go, whether that's a hotel, an Airbnb, grandma's house, whatever. And that's really just having those items that make baby feel comfortable. So whether it's that travel toy that they love, that
Yeah.
you can bring on the plane, in the car, to grandma's house, to the rental, to the hotel. It's that white noise machine that they're used to. Maybe
Yeah.
you sleep in pure darkness, so you rent some blackout shades for your really bright Airbnb.
That is one question we got while promoting this event was, does BabyQuip rent the slumber pod?
Oh, absolutely. And it's actually the only crib tent that we allow on our platform
Okay.
because of the safety testing that they've done and all of the rigorous extra testing that they've done. So we do rent the slumber pod on the site, and it is very popular, and it does make it kind of their own little, blackout environment in
Yeah.
their crib or pack and play.
Yeah. I have friends who use the slumber pod even at home.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I wish they made a slumber pod for like my regular bed.
I feel like I've seen that, and you can.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
I'll
so
look.
we'll get you one of those. I'm sure you'll
Oh,
love the
thank
aesthetic.
you.
Um, planes, trains, automobiles, all of the things, Bree. You have probably done it all, if I had to guess. And as a mom of four, we need that wisdom. So, what systems do you swear by that make it easier? Like, if you're gearing up for a trip, what are you doing, and what can I do in preparation for this trip tomorrow?
So basically, I will start out by saying, do as I say, not as I do, because I am notorious for, well, I'll start out. Um, Make a packing list. Obviously, I have some free ones on our website for like cold weather, warm weather, all that kind of stuff. Have a packing list. I have one in just my notes app on my phone, and we'll adjust it for like trips as I go. But I start that like 2 weeks in advance, because as you're like just driving and thinking of stuff, you're gonna
Falling
have to
asleep,
put it.
laying in bed, you're
Yeah.
like, the list keeps going. Yep.
Oh, always. Um, but with that being said, I am notorious for forgetting something every single trip, like truly every trip.
Yeah.
Um, our last trip a couple weeks ago, I forgot my baby's shoes. So, there's
Not
always
ideal.
you're always gonna forget something. But honestly, just having a packing list and just saving it so you have it for the next trip, that's always, I think,
Yeah.
intimidating. To try to think of everything again. And so, we always have a packing list saved. And then, I do try to pack early in
Yeah.
advance. It's not always possible, especially with like kids' clothes and stuff like that. But any extra stuff, like any gear, snacks for the plane, all that kind of stuff. I just try to pack it as early as possible, because I also have been there with the like 11 p.m.
No, the
night
worst.
before
It's my
you're
husband. I'm just like, why? Like, our flight's at 6 a.m. Do we have to go to bed at 2 a.m.? Couldn't you have packed like yesterday? Yeah.
exactly. So that has helped for sure kind of eliminate a little bit of stress.
Yeah.
And then honestly, as far as like the actual travel day, it's going to be stressful no matter what. And I think you just, as a parent, go into that knowing like it's going to be hard. There's going to be meltdowns. There's going to be, I mean, you know, as adults, when we travel, we're tired after a long day. And so you have to think like we're asking these little kids to do that. And they also don't know a lot about like where we're going, how long it takes. They have no concept of time. Like it all is just hard. And so going into the day, just knowing that like it's going to be hard, it's going to be slower, plan for, extra time on everything. Um, that also really helps. As a new mom, I was always really, really stressed about being on a plane or in a train. Um, I will say I have found other countries, the kids are so quiet on trains. Like it's just, and then there's my four, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we are very obviously Americans on this
Yeah.
train here. Um, but it's just know that you're doing your best. And I used to always worry what other people thought. And I was so stressed about like if my baby was crying on the plane, like I would get really stressed about it, which in turn makes her more
Oh
stressed. And
my God, you get hot, then the baby's hot. It's just, it's a cycle.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think you just need to remind yourself you're doing your best. There's nobody on the plane who wants your baby to stop crying more than like you are trying,
100%.
trying.
Yeah.
And honestly, just do not worry what other people think.
Yeah.
That's really hard to do in the moment, but I think the more you just go into like these trips reminding yourself like you're doing your best, your baby's doing their best, it's gonna work out and it's not forever. This meltdown or whatever is short term.
Yeah.
And so I think, one of the biggest things is just being able to manage like your own stress levels going into it. Which is also another reason why we had made these activity kits was because I just want to help parents feel like a little bit more confident. And so as far as like packing and stuff for travel days, um, I always recommend bringing something that you can get through the airport with. Plan like if you need a stroller to get through the airport, bring a stroller to get through the
Yeah.
airport. We've used, my 3-year-old likes to just lean on like one of the little checked suitcases and just
Yeah.
ride on it. Do whatever you need to. And then we always do bring our activity kits and stuff like that for each of them. But then other than that, comfort items, just something, I always recommend bringing a small thin blanket and stuff like that.
Yeah.
On any travel day, I mean, it's easy to throw in a diaper bag or, throw in a kid's backpack and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
but, other than that, I mean, just anticipate
Self
travel
grace.
day. Yeah. Anticipate your travel day being twice as long and pack for that. You never know what's going to happen. And it's always just nice. It's nice to be over prepared.
100%. And Sarah, I want to hear about your tips and tricks. Quickly, 3 things that other parents have told me to do that have really worked. One, bring a disposable, like you can get them at Party City. Is Party City even still around? You can get it on Amazon or anywhere. A disposable tablecloth, so you can put that down on the floor if you have like a new crawler in the airport, so they're not like crawling on the gross floor. And I still do this number 2 with my toddler, which is a big reason why babies often get upset on the plane is because their ears and they can't do the tricks that we can do as adults, which is like swallow more or yawn or whatever it is. And so I would always bring and still do frozen grapes and one of those like mesh or silicone teether things. And put them into that teether and let my baby and now toddler suck on it at takeoff and landing, and that has really worked. And then also if your baby is young, a pacifier or feeding them when you're taking off and landing is very helpful. So those are my tips and tricks. And now Sarah, anything to add there?
Well, you stole my thunder. No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, I used to breastfeed upon taking
Yep.
off and landing. It helps
Yep.
with the ears, helps with the calm, all that kind of stuff. Never underestimate the power of snacks and
Love that.
snacks that they don't necessarily get at home or don't have very often. This is not my creation, but a snackle box, just like a big old box of snacks, and that can keep people entertained and ward off that hangriness
Yeah.
really easily. Um, and kind of along the lines of Brie, you're just going to have to anticipate meltdowns. Transitions are usually the nightmare parts of the trip. And I always say, this isn't a vacation because it's with kids, it's a trip, right? You're taking a trip with your kids. I always look at my husband and I say, like, we're in this together. We're not going to get divorced because of this airplane. Okay.
Yep.
So just go in with the right kind of mindset. It's going to be a little annoying. Your kids are going to have annoying moments. Your
Yep.
husband or whoever you're traveling with is going to have annoying moments.
Yes.
You're going to be annoying, I'm sure. I've been annoying, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's ever said that, but I assume.
Yeah.
So just kind of lower your expectations and then go down to the basement, pick them back up,
Yep.
lower them again. You know what I mean? Just go with the flow, go in with a mindset where you're like, whatever, we'll see what
And
happens.
one thing that I've heard from friends, and I don't know if this is an altitude thing, but tends to be very common, is blowouts on planes. So if your child is in diapers, make sure you have an extra change of clothes, extra diapers, of course. And we forgot the biggest thing, which Bree may go against everything that you believe in from a business standpoint, but the screen does help if you have a kid old enough to watch something. Like my toddler, all he wants to do tomorrow on this plane is watch Secret Life of Pets. So I have a feeling, knock on wood, that he will sit there and watch Secret Life of Pets. And we actually, and I'll share the links of everything that we're talking about today, and also more information on how you can get tips from Sarah and Bree and about the businesses. But I have these headphones I have found that are 10 out of 10, so we'll also share that link.
Mhm.
Now, Sarah, you kind of hit on this, the sleep, the snacks, the sanity. Let's talk a little bit specifically, and it can be either one of you, about sleep. The meltdowns often come from being overtired, and because of that, you're not on your schedule, maybe you skipped a nap. Have you found any best trips for getting your kids to sleep on the go? Because especially the
There's
first
freezer burn on some of our berries,
Yeah.
so we could probably get rid of some berries.
Okay.
I'm thinking the bottom.
but yeah, that's a common problem, freezer burn on the berries. um but uh how do you get, like, if I didn't have the whole, like, to your point, Sarah, earlier, like, if I didn't, the blackout, if we didn't have the sound machine, all of the stuff, like, so how do you get kids to sleep on the go is the question.
Well, I mean, how do you get kids to sleep in general, right? You cannot force someone to sleep.
No.
You can't force them to sleep, you can't force them to eat, and you can't force them to go to the bathroom. And those are like the three parenting, like, I don't know, that's the like trifecta, right? Those are the things that like stress people out the most. What I think that is helpful is start your routine at home. If you're bringing like a travel crib or you're practicing with a sound machine, practice at home first.
I love that.
Use your travel crib at home a couple of times. Let them get used to it. Hey, we're gonna practice going on vacation. Who wants to sleep in their new travel crib? It's gonna be
That's
so
fun.
exciting. This is gonna be like what it's like on vacation. Oh my gosh. Um, and then, really as best as you can, try to stick to that routine that you have at home. Obviously, it's not always going to happen, but My kids are a little bit older now, but I mean, I've traveled with them since they were babies. Um, but even if they don't sleep, schedule some downtime. Whether it's going back to the hotel and reading a book or doing a quiet activity. I tell my kids now, even if you can't sleep, closing your eyes is the next best thing. That way, your brain just kind of takes a little shutdown, everybody rests, and that sort of thing. So, there's some ways to get around maybe that nap that was missed, maybe a little extra downtime during the day, and then maybe a little bit earlier bedtime, um, and then try again the next day. It's
Yeah, just
fine.
reset.
Yeah, you're not going to mess anybody up. Um, Babies are amazingly resilient
Yeah.
to all kinds of things. So
Yeah.
don't stress about it. You know, if you're on the go, bring a carrier or a stroller that reclines really well, and hopefully they'll take a little snooze in there. But just kind of plan around a little bit more downtime than if you were vacationing with an adult only.
Yeah. I also love that tip. Some of the travel strollers that like I see all the time, I'm a little confused by because they don't recline all the way back. And so I actually spent a lot of time for this pregnancy because I had one of those looking into a stroller that actually reclined all the way and they exist.
Mhm.
Bree, what about with time differences? Are you a proponent of getting your kid on that time zone? Or I've heard some people try to, like, if you're in New York, stick to the New York time zone. What would be your recommendation there?
It depends on the time difference, and it depends
Yeah.
on how long your trip is. We've done trips that are 3 hours different, and it's really not that big of a deal. But so if the trip is less than like a week long, I don't usually change them if it's like under 2 or 3 hours. Like, you just know that they're going to go to bed earlier or a little bit later and they're going to wake up a little bit at a different time. It usually takes about 2 or 3 days for kids to like truly adjust to a new time zone. And by then you're halfway through the trip. And it's usually not worth the struggle. And so if it's a short trip, and not a big time difference, I don't usually change them. You also have to keep in mind that they're going to be exhausted. You're doing a lot of fun stuff on trips, or they're out in the sun all day at the beach. Like they'll adjust. They'll sleep when they need to. This is definitely one of those things. If you have kids that massively have to take naps, and that that's like a non-negotiable, do it. For us on trips, we're kind of more of like they'll sleep in the car, they'll sleep, they'll
Yeah.
get their nap, they'll get their sleep. And we don't 100% stick to um like my kid naps at noon every single day. So we're just a little bit more flexible on that. With bigger time changes, I think the best thing to do is to get them outside. And that kind of majorly helps with, we were in Norway with our kids and it took them only like 2 days to adjust. And it was,
Yeah.
I think, an 11-hour time difference from us. But you get there, you immediately start treating it like, okay, it's 3 o'clock here. Like it's the afternoon. We're gonna go have a snack and then we're gonna do dinner at 5.
Yeah.
Try as much as you can to be on whatever time schedule or time zone you are in. And then, you know, bedtime will be a little bit hard the first day. They'll probably wake up in the middle of the night. If kids
Yeah.
do wake up in the middle of the night, try to keep it boring, is what I say. Sometimes you just have to embrace it and they'll be up for an hour. But try not to do screens at that time. And I will say, I have nothing against screens. My kids watch movies on the flight too. But this is when travel kits or, different books, bring books, something that is not a screen for when they need to not be like super overstimulated. Um, But the other thing is anytime that we're traveling and there's a major time difference, I always plan a playground for the first day. Pretty much like right after breakfast. As soon as they get up, just let them be outside or some sort of outside activity, because the more that
Brilliant.
they're outside, it'll help adjust their circadian rhythms, and they will be so much easier to kind of adjust to whatever time zone you're on. Um, and those major, unless you have family or you travel a lot and you're living in like these big different time zones, most of the time zone changes are, an hour to 3 hours if you're in the US. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's super worth it to like stress about it and worry about it. If it's a short trip, it might just be easier to adjust, your nap time and bedtime and all that kind of stuff accordingly.
Those are great tips. Two others that came to me while you were speaking were, especially if you have a kid like 2 and under, maybe 1 and 2 and under, do not underestimate the power of painter's tape and some pom-poms. That is pretty game changing. You can do a lot with those things. And then if you're on a longer flight, I saw someone do this. I haven't tried it, but I think this sounds pretty brilliant, which is to go to the dollar store or Target, get a few cheap new toys and wrap them in wrapping paper and make it like an exciting thing to unveil. So those are two other tips. And then Sarah, something that you said, I just want to bring back because I think it's really important. We had a virtual event recently on a much different topic, which is that usually the default parent who's in the household tends to be the woman, and there's oftentimes this narrative around like it's me versus my partner. And she said to reframe it kind of like what you were saying, which is like we're on a team. So instead of thinking like, oh, it's me against my partner, it's actually you two versus the mental load, and make the mental load the enemy opposed to your partner. So I thought that was a really interesting thing, and I'm trying to channel that because inevitably I know tomorrow I'm going to be like, ah, yeah, exactly. Okay, we've all been there. Like, obviously, you have to pack the essential things. Then there are things you just do not need to pack. And for me, I would say the biggest, I love Baby Bjorn. Shout out to them. I think they're amazing brand. I think the travel bag for the Baby Bjorn bouncer is extortion. I literally bought that thing and brought that bouncer everywhere, and it was so unnecessary for me. Um, so that is my don't pack if you're in the Baby Bjorn bouncer stage. What are your don't packs?
Um, well, I'm of the don't pack very much at all.
Yeah,
camp.
and rent.
Yes, but when I was thinking about this question, obviously bring a few little toys that your kids love, especially for the plane
Yeah, the
and that
comfort
kind of thing.
items.
But a lot of parents don't realize that you can rent like a huge, big bucket of toys when you get to your destination. And that honestly has been a game changer for so many parents that have told me
Too.
directly.
Yeah.
Because it's brand new toys right there when you get to your rental or your hotel or grandma's house or whatever. It keeps them occupied while you're checking in, while you're having coffee, cocktails on the patio, while you're transitioning, that downtime. I mean, it can cover so many different things that it's almost just an essential that to rent when toys when you get to your destination. And I can speak from experience, but our providers love toys. They're toy experts. They put together toy packages based on like your kids' ages and their interests and where you're going and where you're coming from and all that kind of stuff. And I've seen so many vacations that have been saved by just a couple
New
of
toys.
toys. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good advice. And someone just asked, where would you rent a big bucket of toys like that? The answer is
Baby
BabyQuip.
Quip.
not lastly, but another question came in, which, and maybe you'll have to fact check this, Sarah, but do you rent in Punta Cana in the DR?
Uh, yes.
Great. So there you go. They do. And that's where I'm going tomorrow. So I need to rent some toys like ASAP. Um, okay, Bree, what are your do not packs?
Oh, I am like Sarah. I pack super minimal. I don't like to bring a lot of stuff. And this is probably a pretty unpopular opinion, but we don't bring a stroller because I rent one or it's just something extra to bring through the airport. And so we usually don't bring one, and that's probably the most unpopular, like, recommendation of what not to pack.
Like controversial at Auggie, so that
Most people do bring their stroller, and I totally get it. For me, it's just one extra thing to fold up at the gate. And so,
or wait for at the gate, like upon getting off the plane, which
yeah, so we don't usually bring it. The other thing that, I mean, I don't think it's super necessary is just, gosh, so basically, like when we travel, we do try to like pack in, just a couple tiny suitcases. And so I don't know. I don't pack a ton of like clothes for every single day.
yeah,
Unless you're going somewhere, you can't, do laundry, but just do a load of laundry at your trip. And
yeah,
I shared once on my Instagram that we were, doing laundry, and that's a very controversial topic too. Some people are very much like, we do not do laundry on our trip. That is so much work for me. Like, this is supposed to be a vacation. For me, I'd rather not push 3 extra suitcases in,
yeah.
our destination. And so I only pack, half of the clothes that my kids need, and I just plan on doing a load of laundry at my parents' house or the hotel or wherever. Um, so those are two things I don't think people usually would, think of, but at least for us, I know for me, I get so much more stress trying to carry all the bags and carry all the things, and I often am by myself with the kids, and so I'd rather eliminate, as much stuff as I can to not have to carry all the things.
Yeah. To play devil's advocate as somebody who is like I'm in Brooklyn, like my stroller is our car. I feel very comfortable with our stroller as my home base. And if that is you, if you're a schlepper, because I'm a schlepper, one thing I didn't realize, and I have gotten like very stressed about in the past, of like if the travel stroller fits in the overhead, you actually can just bring your Vista or whatever normal stroller you have. They'll let you gate check any stroller. So as long as you can, I think you'll have to fold it down, but sometimes they just help you. They say leave it there and they fold it down. So what I do sometimes is like not even stress about getting the travel stroller. I just bring the full stroller, and then if I'm traveling by myself with the toddler, then I just put everything underneath it. So that's the devil's advocate point to Brie. But tomorrow I am not taking a stroller, Brie. So you would be proud of me. I know. And JFK, if you're in New York, has about a 20-minute walk once you land back home till because they're doing construction. Anyway, so we'll see how that goes.
Just for the Vista, they do make a travel bag, and if the airline for some reason messes up your Vista and it's in the travel bag, they'll replace it for you.
Ooh, that is a
So
hot tip.
just so you know, because airlines are notoriously hard on strollers. So just be careful when you gate check. Either gate check a stroller that you don't like as much or it's kind of
Yeah.
banged up, or put it in the travel bag, and then you have that extra protection.
I do want to take the opportunity to shout out any, and it can be like a travel product, it could be a gear related product, but Are there any products that you guys swear by just for travel in general? Like for me, and again, we'll send the link. I found this awesome sunscreen applicator. Like you put sunscreen in this roller ball thing, and then it lets you just roll any sunscreen onto your toddler. So that's usually my answer. And I don't want to put you on the spot, so only if something comes to you, but any MVPs in your household? I guess Bree, it's your boxes.
Yes. I mean, you know, the activity kits have saved us many times.
Yep.
But you know, other than that, I swear by having a slumber pod.
Yep.
I've always room shared with babies, and I've hidden out in bathrooms because that's the only place that you can have light after the baby goes to sleep if you don't have one. Um, we also really, really like the Mia Millie suitcase. They're going viral right now. I have it on my Instagram as well. You can see it's basically a seat for your
Oh,
toddler on the suitcase. So that's a reason we actually don't bring a stroller, is because I just use that seat on the suitcase. And then I also really, really love having a tush baby. And those have been a lifesaver as well. Oh, yep, I see no reception club. Their bags are the best. That's the only travel diaper bag that I use. I share them all the time. I love them.
great.
I think the biggest thing is like what I wish I would have done with all these like MVP things. I wish I would have bought them sooner. Um,
Yeah.
I I've been traveling for 9 years with my kids, and I will say I double strollers are harder um,
Yeah.
to travel with, you know, and they're also harder to like pack up and stuff like that because there's not really many padded like double stroller bags. So I used my Vista for forever. We recently switched over to a travel stroller, and I'm like, I wish I had done this
Yeah.
8 years ago, you know. And same with this ride-on suitcase. I wish I had done it earlier. I held off because it was expensive. But even if you only take a couple trips a year, you're going to use it for 4 or 5 years, you know. And so it if if it is something that is important to you, or it looks really nice, like it might be nice to have, um, it is worth investing in a couple of these like must-have things that you know you're going to use for, you know, many years when you travel.
Yeah. Somebody just wrote in, how about those seat extenders for toddlers? It's like a sturdy blanket that you connect to the seat in front of you. I personally love this because my toddler is like notorious for kicking the seat in front of him, and if he has that, he won't. So that would be my like, and they're relatively affordable, like the clip-on ones. They're not like those big inflatable ones that you have to get, which just for me, like I didn't want to be like blowing something up and deflating it. So I do recommend, and we can also send the one that we use in the follow-up DM. Also, something I recently got after a solo trip was a Velcro cup holder that goes onto my suitcase. Because, like, inevitably, if you have to hold the kid and you want to go to Starbucks at the airport or get a bottle of water, like, it's hard to hold and roll everything. So now I just put a water bottle like on my suitcase. So that was a good purchase. I want to make sure we like, it's always, I know sometimes hard to unmute and ask your question, but travel is one of the times that you are in the trenches. So if you have any question that you want to unmute yourself for and ask, now will be the time to do it. And we'll sit here probably for what will be a 10-second awkward silence. But if not, we are here to answer your questions. Okay.
Hi, I'll come off mute. This is Anna. I'm from Miami. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Anna.
I have family with a place in Europe that's I'm always dreading. They're always asking for us to go. The return, because it's a 9-hour return and it's during the daylight. Bree, what do you guys, or what's your experience, or what do you recommend? Like, how do you plan out toddler during daylight hours trapped for about 8, 9 hour flight?
It's long. I've been there. We did New York to Hawaii because my family all wanted to go there, and I was like, this sounds horrible, but it's also Hawaii, so I guess I'll go. I like to schedule. This is also knowing like sometimes you got to do what you got to do with the cheapest flight. Like I will not pay an extra $300 per ticket for, an ideal flight time. So if you can find a flight, I like to find one at least a like 2 hours before nap time. And this is assuming that your kids will take a nap on the plane. Car seats I've found help with naps just because my kids are used to sleeping in their car seats and taking a nap. But I usually try to do like a couple hours before a nap time, and hopefully the nap will break it up a little bit. But other than that, I think the biggest thing to do and to make it a little bit seem like a more manageable trip is to break it up into like segments. And so, the first couple hours, this is just how we do it. This is one of the reasons we started the activity kits was because my kids, we use screens. There's no way around it, especially on travel days. But my kids get really grouchy when they watch 7, 8 hours of screens in a row. And so for me, we bring activity kits to kind of, or any toy that you want to kind of break it up. And so I try not to bust out screens right away. I'll do, different toys. I'll switch off for like the first hour, or if you can stretch it as long as you can. Then we usually do snacks, and I go really slow with those. We have different, we even have different toys on our site. They're like cups that stack, and so you can like put one snack in there and then they have to twist it, and like, it's like a little puzzle to get it out. So we kind of break it up with like toys, snacks, and then either a nap or a movie if naps are not going to happen. There's also ways you can kind of we call them like sneak attack naps, and just like have them cuddle with you, lay on your lap, you have the movie on, and you're just kind of slowly lulling them into being relaxed and taking a nap. Other than that, I think the biggest thing to do is just like break it up. Um, Try to break it up into like shorter segments, where it's like, okay, we're gonna do, some books right now,
Yeah.
and then it's snacks, and then it's a movie, and try to keep like a little bit of a routine on the flight with that, and it helps rather than looking at it as like I have 9 hours and I'm 30 minutes into the flight. Like, what the heck am I gonna do?
That's so
Fair.
helpful. Thank you.
And one thing I've done on a really long flight is we got that like I can't remember what it's called, that seat that has the more leg room in the front where the people in front of you can't recline. And I just put one of like a blanket down, and for some of the flight, I don't know if this is safety recommended, but like we played on the floor. And that was helpful. That's probably not recommended. Well, Sarah and Bree, thank you so much for joining us today. This was awesome and perfect timing for me selfishly with my upcoming travel. And we will do it again soon.
This was so fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
everybody, for joining, and safe travels this summer. We will see you in the Augie app. Bye.